Welcome back to my channel, guys. It's Chi here. All right, this today I wanted to talk a little bit about struggle love, but I don't want to talk about it from the perspective that we all think about. I want to talk about it from the perspective of Black women related to other Black women through struggle. Are we building relationships based on what exactly? And I realized some things, so I'm going to share this. Subscribe to the channel. And I want to talk a bit about how embedded struggle love is in our general concept of relationships. And it really goes beyond just, relationships with the opposite sex or love type of relationships. It goes really deep. So again, subscribe. Get ready to tell me all your thoughts and what you've been thinking. And yeah, let's talk about something. One of the things that I often hear from Black women is that they get the most hate from other Black women. And I started to think, why is it? I mean, I've received some, pushback on some of the topics that I've had here. Probably not from any of my subscribers, but I think just, some of the comments some women have left. And I started thinking, how do we relate to one another? Because I grew up, and I don't know about you, but one of the things that some women, when I was growing up, would always tell me is like, you can't trust other women. And I never actually had an experience in my life where I felt like someone who is my friend ever stabbed me in the back. I know a lot of people, however, who have. And it's usually some shady thing that happens, and it comes out of nowhere sometimes. It's just like somebody does some shitty thing to somebody else, despite their relationship, despite everything. And one of the things that I started to think about is like, when those people did that, why did they choose their friend to do it? And a lot of times what I've seen is that women who see other women having an easier time at it, think that there is something that friend owes them in some way, right? So for example, if you had a friend who you're trying to help out, they lost their job, they needed a place to stay, whatever the case may be, right? And you have abundance and you're like, I love you, let me share this with you. And you're not struggling, but they are. There's only so much you can do in someone else's struggle, right? You gotta let them work it out, but you doing your best to support them. But that person who's going through the struggle seems to want to have you have some of that struggle. They want to share their struggle with you. And when you're like, no, dude, that's all you. I'll help you where I can, but keep your struggle to yourself. That's when some of the problems start to arise from that relationship. And that's just my observation, because like I said, I have not had a lot of friends that I feel like stabbed me in the back who I've known for a really long time. I did talk about some of my relationships changing after I moved abroad, but that's another topic. But my close friends, I've known them for a really long time. And I mean, like, decades at this point, right? And there is nothing that I think with those relationships, there's nothing that can happen between us at this point. And when I say that, like, there's no reason, there's nothing, I am secure enough to say there's nothing that my friends are going to do that's going to change our relationship fundamentally. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, and I start thinking, how have we connected in this way, in this deep way? And I am secure to say that. Like, I'm very secure to say that. But other women have different experiences. And I grew up around women with those different experiences. And what I've observed a lot of times in that like example of seeing someone else who's doing better, people will get angry with that person in some capacity. Somewhere deep inside, it's like, you're not struggling. That's not fair. Because struggle is so embedded, inbred, and expected of so many Black women. Because if you really think about it, like, who is the strongest woman? You know, that most revered Black woman, the one who has, like, everyone's like, man, she's strong. She's so strong. She's the epitome of an independent, strong Black woman. What's her life like? If you think about that woman that you know, her life is not easy. That strength, that independence, that thing that everyone says like, wow, about, because it couldn't be me, I couldn't do all that, I couldn't carry all that load. The woman who is most revered for being strong has the biggest struggle in her life. And everyone is just like, well, brava for her. But why? You know, why are we expected to struggle that way? And that's how we get our flowers, through struggle? Come on now. Why? Why do we want to see someone else that looks like us go through bad times? Because that's what we experienced. And if theirs are bigger than ours, it makes us feel better about ourselves. And we can't celebrate the people who are not, those people who are truly just like happy and living life and going through all of the adjustments that life has to give, but sometimes showing vulnerability, sometimes saying, I can't do that, sometimes saying, that's enough for me, right? And sometimes letting their guard down. Their strength even in that is strength in vulnerability, is strength in saying, I'm not okay. You know, and even recently with like Simone, the gymnast, and the tennis player, when they were like, I can't do something right now, I'm not physically or mentally in a space for this right now, how many people came at them for not pushing through, for not fighting the good fight, for not sacrificing themselves for society? That is an example, right, of how so many Black women are expected to live their lives. And so many expectations of that has affected our ability to relate to one another, our ability to give flowers because someone is just simply saying, that's enough. I'm not going to do that. Or I'm going to lead a different path than what's expected of me. I think when we start to build our relationships around struggle, and even sometimes that's relationships that was built because your love life was so struggly, right? Like, how many friends did you meet, you know, because of a bad relationship and they were going through something similar and you were able to connect? Whatever the case may be, a lot of times these relationships start on struggle. And that is a connecting factor, be it work or love or children or parents, you know, abuse that we've experienced. The people who have similar scars seem to connect. And sometimes those scars don't heal as a result of those connections, bringing those scars back, pushing that scarring to happen, even if it's subconsciously. Because sometimes when one person's scars start to heal and the other one's hasn't, the ability to relate to one another starts to fall apart. So are we, as women, building relationships that are healthy, that help us grow, that help us heal, or that are just mutually loving? Or are we focused on always holding on to struggle, even in the friendship relationships that we have? Because for me, when I start looking at my friends, those are my soulmates. Like, my best friends are my soulmates. I met them when I was little and we have stayed connected through so many different iterations. Our lives are so different. Our experiences throughout this life have been so different, and we have met each other on different planes of evolution. And I think about the deepness and the richness of that, and how comforting and comfortable I am, and how comfortable I feel like they are with me. Like, we can truly say all of the things that are on our minds and know that it comes with love, you know? Like, one of my friends just told me, she's like, you're not a helicopter parent, but you know, like, you're like a drone, you know, you're silently there, kind of like, I see you, I'm watching. You don't want to make the noise so that, you know, your kids know that you're there all the time, but you're like ready to scoop in. And so, you know, some people might find offense to that, but I know where she was coming from, and I know why she's telling me that, and I know there's some truth to that about me. So whether I agree with everything or they agree with everything that I say to them or do, is sometimes I'm way harsher to them than they are to me in the way I communicate. So the fact that they know I love them and I know they love me makes a huge difference in my life. And I know I have places to be. No matter what happens or where I am in the world, I know I have home with them as well. So that's my little love fest for the moment. But as I'm navigating, you know, so many different spaces and building relationships anew, abroad, trying to find connections with people and finding why I connect or don't connect or what's happening in those relationships, I start to think about why culturally Black women a lot of times connect in ways that are surrounded by hurt and negativity, because ultimately we're so used to expecting such things. And so many people don't know how to celebrate someone else who is trying to let that go or move past or never even experienced it, because that happens. And then you find them unrelatable because you're like, girl, how'd you manage to get through this life without that? But I think that we need to examine struggle love on a deeper in a deeper way within ourselves and those relationships that are not just romantic, because our soulmates can come in many, many forms. And I think some of you might have some really interesting comments to tell me about your experiences with this. So I'm gonna leave it there. I want you guys to comment, tell me what you think, share the videos, guys. Like, I'm getting some new subscribers, and I'm appreciating all of you who are here and sharing. And yeah, so let's talk in the comments, guys. Ciao, ciao for now.